ॐ दक्षिणस्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. From this session, for the next two sessions, that's today and the next session, I'm going to take yet another very popular Advaita Stotra of Adi Shankaracharya called as Manisha Panchakam. Manisha Panchakam is also called as Viveka Panchakam. Viveka Panchakam means it is a group of 5 verses, Panchakam, a group of 5 verses, which talks about this particular Atmajnanam or Viveka, Jnanam or Viveka. Manisha also means knowledge. Manisha Panchakam means it is 5 a group of 5 verses which are talking about this knowledge. Knowledge that is very, very clear, knowledge that is very, very committed, and that which is without any doubt in the intellect of a person who has very clearly understood and assimilated this knowledge, that particular state or that particular knowledge and that particular state of intellect where such a knowledge is absolutely clear and conviction, there is a conviction about this knowledge, that is called as Manisha. Manisha Panchakam. So now, this Panchakam, this particular stotra also is an Upanishad Saram only. It is the central teaching, it gives the central teaching of our entire scriptures and Upanishads. Now, this particular stotra also is based on a story. As I told you in the previous Hastamalakiyam also, Hastamalakiyam is also based on a certain story which is written in the biography of Shankaracharya called as the Shankara Vijayam, where there are many Shankara Vijayas. Some 9 or 10 authors, it seems, have written this biography of Shankaracharya, and many of these stories are, interpreted differently by different people. Very different ways of interpreting different stories. There are some stories and some versions, some stories not there. The same story is not there in the other version. So these kind of things are there, but commonly some of the stories are there in all the versions. And then this particular story also of Manisha Panchakam as to how this particular work was written by Adi Shankaracharya, that is also given in a story. It is said that it seems Bhagavan Shankaracharya as a Parivrajaka was actually traveling by foot, and he was in Kashi, which is considered to be a Punya Kshetra now, and then also it was considered to be a Punya Kshetra. And Bhagavan Shankaracharya, along with his Shishyas, was actually going around in Kashi, and then he had a bath in the river Ganga, and he was just coming out. When he was coming out of the river Ganga, it seems he saw a Chandala. Now, what is a Chandala? A Chandala in today's language, we can call a Chandala as like slum dweller. We can say. I mean, there are so many explanations which are given for definitions given for Chandala. But let us not go into that now. We can say that he is a very Prakrita Purusha, a person who's very uncultured, maybe a slum dweller, not really looking clean outside, and shows very clearly that he comes from a very, very low socio-economic background, and especially a very dirty person exteriorly, externally also. And a person, we can say, a slum dweller was coming with four dogs behind him. He was crossing Acharya Shankara. And see, the story itself is something which we have to take with a pinch of salt. Let me tell you why. Now, it seems Shankaracharya saw this person and he was just coming out clean out of Ganga and coming out. And when he saw the slum dweller right in front of him, crossing him, close to him, it seems Shankaracharya said, Gacha, Gacha, go away, go away. So it's as though he did not want to have this slum dweller, this dirty person coming in front of him or crossing his path. And it seems he said, Gacha, Gacha, go away, go away. Now, the story itself may be a beginning or an introduction to Manisha Panchakam, but really did it happen or not, we don't know. It is very doubtful that such a thing would have happened with Acharya Shankara because, number one, Acharya Shankara is considered to be the very avatara of Lord Shiva. Acharya Shankara was a jnani. He was a jnani. And he was a jnani who knew that the Jiva Bhedas are only because of Upadhi Bheda. I am different from you, you are different from me, I am different from a slum dweller, or I am different from a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or Shudra or whatever it is. The Varna Dharma, the Ashrama Dharma, and all the exterior dharmas belong to the body. And then the body, I am not really the body. And all of us are different from the point of view of the body. The Upadhi Bheda is there. But there is one consciousness which is there, which is making all body, mind, sense complexes sentient, which we have seen in Hastamalikiya also. That is what Hastamalaka told, and Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya Bhagavan was so impressed with Hastamalaka that he wrote whatever Hastamalaka said, as you know, he wrote it in his own words, and he's also supposed to have written a commentary upon it. In this particular situation, this story says that Acharya Shankara himself was upset because a Chandala or a slum dweller was crossing his path, and then he asked the Chandala to go away. This is something which does not gel into many of us. Shankaracharya Bhagavan, being himself a jnani, would he really say, ask somebody to go away? Even Vyavaharataya, even Vyavaharataya, would he ask? Now, that is a question which is an open question. Now, that's why we say we don't know whether these things, these stories, whether it's really happened or not. But then this is mentioned, and then it seems this person, this Chandala or the slum dweller, asked questions to Bhagwan Shankaracharya in such a way that Bhagwan Shankara's eyes were opened. And then he realized, that's what it is said here. But then he's already a Mukta Purusha, he's already a Jnani. But they should be probably sometimes to give importance to a lesser person, to give importance to the Chandala as to what he knew. Probably Shankaracharya Bhagwan has been depicted in this way, we do not know. It could be the possibility. Ultimately, Bhagwan Shankaracharya realized that what the Chandala was saying was the truth, and then he wrote a set of 5 verses called as Manisha Panchakam or Viveka Panchakam, which talk about that pristine, ever pure, Shuddha, Nitya Buddha Atma, saying that I am not this body mind sense complex. That Chandala is not the body mind sense complex. None of us are the body mind sense complex. We are that consciousness Swarupa, the Chaitanya Swarupa, which is invigorating all the body mind sense complexes. We are nothing but that same Kshetrajna which is available in all the Kshetras. And Shankaracharya says, anybody who knows this fact, be he a Chandala or a Dvija, whether he is a slum dweller or a Vaidika Brahmana, whoever it may be, he is my Guru. He is fit enough to be my Guru. Ultimately, what matters is what you are looking, what your external appearance does not matter. What ultimately matters is that you are aware of this truth that you are not the body mind sense complex. Whatever may be the birth, you might have taken birth in any kind of a situation. You might belong to any varna or any ashrama. It is a sharira dharma. Atma has no dharmas. Atma is gunatita. So anybody who knows this, be it a Chandala or a very, very exalted Brahmana, there is no difference. Such a person who knows this truth is fit to be my Guru. And I respect him or that person, whoever that person is, as my Guru. This is actually the very crux of the teaching of Manisha Panchakam. So, the first verse, which has got about 6 lines, talks about this particular story and the background and the question that this Chandala asked to Shankaracharya. So here in the first verse, in the first 2 lines, he says, this we can read it as a prose also, because it's a story which is talking about, it is depicting what really happened, it's narrating the incident. So he says here, Satyacharyasya gamane कदाचिन् मुक्तिदायकं काशीक्षेत्रं प्रति. So he says, Satyacharyasya gamane, Satyacharya means Shankaracharya, Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya, was going, was traveling, kadachit, sometime in during one of his journeys, kadachit, Muktidayakam Kashi Kshetram Prati. He was walking towards or walking within or whatever, he was having a bath from Ganga and coming out, that's what he said. He was having, being a parivrajaka, and was wandering around in the Muktidayakam Kashi Kshetram. Muktidayakam, because Kashi is considered to be a place where it is an ideal place. It is said that those who die in Kashi get mukti. That is what is the common understanding of the common people. Of course, mukti can be got only by this jnanam. We know that by now. Of course, it is a punya kshetra and it is a punya to die in Kashi, no doubt about it. So here he says, Kadachin Muktidayakam Kashi Kshetram Prati. What did he find? Okay. Gaurya Saha Margetu Shankaram. So it is said that Bhagwan Shiva or Kashi Vishwanatha of Kashi Kshetra appeared or manifested himself Gaurya Saha. It said Gaurya Saha, that is means with Maya Shakti as a person. He manifested as a person, as a Chandala with the 4 dogs. That is not mentioned here in this verse, but it is there in the story. So Gaurya Saha Margetu Shankaram. Okay, this Gaurya Saha, he appeared. Who appeared? Kashi Vishwanatha, that deity itself, or that that Devata itself, manifested in front of Shankaracharya in the form of a very prakrita, uncultured person, what we can call as a slum dweller. He appeared in the form of a slum dweller. And who was he? Antyaveshadharam. He was Antyaveshadharam. Antyaveshadharam means he belonged to a very, very low socio-economic status. Antyaja. That means he belonged to literally a slum dweller. He had the Vesha of a slum dweller. Antya Veshadharam Shankaram. Shankaram he did not know. See, this is another thing. Acharya being a person who's a jnani, I mean, he would have understood that this is actually Shankara, Lord Shiva in the form or in the manifestation of Antyaja. It doesn't matter. Sometimes Bhagwan, when he wants to appear, he may probably cause some kind of a confusion in the minds of even very, very knowledgeable people also for the sake of giving some lessons to people like us. It could be that. Now, let us not analyze too much into the story as to why Bhagwan Shankaracharya got disgusted looking at this person and asked him to move away from his path. Antyaveshadharam drishtva, Shankaracharya saw this Antyaveshadharam, this slum dweller, and what did he say? Gacha gacha cha abravi. He said, go away from my path, go away from my path. Okay. Then what happened? Shankaraha so api chandalaha tam punaha praha Shankaram. Listening to this question of this particular sannyasi, a Tejasvi sannyasi, coming out from a bath fresh from Ganga river, what did he say? Saha api chandalaha, that chandala, tam punaha praha Shankaram. He asked this question, punaha praha. He asked him this question, asked this question to Shankaracharya. Now, what is this question that he asked? That is actually the content of the first verse, which is only an introductory verse at all. So, what was this question? It is this one question of this Antyaja which motivated Acharya Shankara to write this beautiful Manisha Panchakam of 5 verses of Viveka, 5 verses of Jnanam. So what is this question? The last 2 lines of the first verse say, Annamayad Annamayam Athava Chaitanyameva Chaitanyat Dvijavara Duri Kartum Vanchasi Kim Bruhi Gacha Gacheti. This is the question. From here we can start chanting it in a particular tune. So he says, this particular person, he says, Hey Dvijavara, Hey exalted Dvija, Brahmana Dvija. Who's a Dvija? A person who has got the adhikaritvam to do the Vedika karmas after the initiation of the thread ceremony or the Upanayanam. Such a person is called as a Dvija. Dvija means actually a second born. The first birth is considered in our scriptures to be that birth which is got out of the mother and father. And till the Upadayanam ceremony, every person is considered to be a Prakrita Purusha. And with the Yajnopavita Samskara, when that Samskara happens, Yajnopavita Samskara is given. It is said that now this young boy of 8 or 9 years is capable of getting into the Vedic fold of life, into the Vedic way of life, where he has got an adhikara to do the Vedic karmas, adhikara to go to the Gurukulam and learn the Vedas, adhikara to learn, chant, go to the Gurukulam, do all the Nitya Naimittika karmas that the Veda talks about, or the Vedas talk about, which is necessary or which is appropriate for that particular age, ashrama and varna, whatever it is. So that means Dvija here means it is like a second birth for a child who is appropriately initiated into the Vedic way of life. So, hey Dvijavara, Dvija means this person, an exalted person who has got right to do the Vaidika karmas, a Vaidika Brahmana or a Vaidika person. Because, Upanayanam ceremony is there for Kshatriyas also, Vaishyas also, and their way of doing things, the Vedas have different kinds of karmas for the different Varnas. But here Dvijavara, he says, Hey exalted Dvija, Hey Vaidika, Hey exalted Vaidika Dvijavara, Duri kartum vanchasi, you want, me to go away, Duri kartum vanchasi, and you are asking me, Gacha, Gacha iti. You're asking me to go away, go away. Now let me ask you a question. What are you asking to go away? Okay, he says, Annamayam athava chaitanyameva chaitanyat. So we all know that when I say I am a combination of the Anatma body mind sense complex and the Chaitanya Atma consciousness. I am a combination of the matter principle and consciousness principle. The matter principle is the Panchabhautika body mind sense complex. Panchabhautika means what? We have already seen it in Vivek Chudamani, Bhagavad Gita also. We have seen it in Kathopanishad also. Panchabhautika means it is a body mind sense complex which is a product of Maya, which is a product of the five elements. Panchabhautikam. It's the product of the five elements. Therefore, this body mind sense complex is an elemental, and all the body mind sense complexes are elementals. All the body mind sense complexes have got the same impurities, the same kind of afflictions that any body can have. Vikaritvam, Shad Vikaras there for all the bodies, any jiva. Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, and Vinashyati. The Shad Vikaras are there for all the bodies. Vikaritvam, ever changing. The body is not clean. However much you clean, the body gets dirty. Inside the body, there is so much of holding of so much dirt. It is already there. There are colonies of organisms inside us. Fortunately, we are not able to see that. There are waste materials which are stored for days together inside us. Fortunately, we are not able to see that. That's why there is some person, what is Bhartrihari, I think, yeah, the one who has written this Vairagya Shatakam. He says that it is bhandam. It is a bhandam of mutra and purisha. Mutra purisha bhandam, he says. This body is nothing but having all these waste materials stored inside to be put out sometime or the other. Outside the body is as dirty. What is the difference between my body and your body? My body is also afflicted by jara, roga, mrityu. Your body also is afflicted by jara, roga, and mrityu. In Acharya Shankara's life story, biography itself says that he also suffered from rogas, so many rogas. Acharya Shankara's body also one day disappeared, it had to be given up. So, however exalted a person may be, even an avatar Purusha, of course, Shankaracharya is considered to be an avatar of Lord Shiva. Even Lord Krishna's body, Lord Rama's body had to fall one day. As they took the avatara, though it was a Maya Sharira, when they came in the earthly plane, as a human form with a particular upadhi body, that upadhi has a date of manufacture and a date of expiry. This body is born, it goes through changes, it has roga, it has got jara, it has got death. So hey Dvijavara, hey Acharya, hey Sannyasi, what is the difference between my body and your body? There's no difference between my body and your body. My body is also Panchabhautika, your body is also Panchabhautika. Your body has the same dharmas as my body has. So, are you asking this body to go away from your body? Is there any difference? There is no difference. We're both the same. So, are you asking this body to move away as if you are extremely pure, that your body does not have the dharmas of this body? Or, athava, chaitanyam? Or are you asking this consciousness to go away from your consciousness? Are there two consciousnesses? Are there many consciousnesses? No. There is one consciousness within me, this Chandala Sharira also. And there is one, the same consciousness in you also. There is the same consciousness within these four dogs also. Then, are you asking the Chaitanyam to go away? Can all pervading Chaitanyam, this consciousness which is everywhere, in every kshetra as the kshetrajnam, can this consciousness go away? Where can it go? It is all pervading. You are in the same consciousness, I am in the same consciousness. It is the same Chaitanyam Atma within you, the same Atma within me. Then what are you asking to go away? Are you asking this body to go away from this body? Are you asking, are you saying that this Chaitanyam has to go away from that Chaitanyam? In which case you don't know. What is that Chaitanyam? Chaitanyam cannot, it is one consciousness. It cannot. So, when this question was asked to Bhagwan Shankaracharya by this Chandala or slum dweller, immediately it seems Bhagwan Shankaracharya recognized and realized that he was not dealing with a common person. He understood immediately that it was Lord Shiva, Lord Vishwanatha, who had come in the form of a slum dweller only to teach him a lesson. And it is said that the four dogs that were following this Antyaja or this Chandala were nothing but the representatives of the four Vedas. That's what is told in the story. And once Bhagwan Shankaracharya heard this, he realized that he was not dealing with any jiva as such, and he was being questioned by Lord himself. And he fell at the feet of this Chandala and said that anybody who has this knowledge, this Atma Anatma Viveka, anybody who can clearly understand this particular aspect, that the body in any case is Panchabhautika, is not different from each other. Consciousness is one and the only, the one indivisible, all pervading consciousness in every upadhi. A person who knows this, whether he is a Chandala or whether he is a Dvija, whether he is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, whether he is a, he's in a Gurukula, or whether he is a Brahmachari, whether he is a Grahastha, Vanaprasthi, or a Sannyasi. It does not matter. He is fit to be my Guru, whoever it is who has this knowledge, he is fit enough to be my Guru. And with this kind of, this kind of a very, very inspired feeling, with this inspiration from Lord Shiva, Bhagwan Shankaracharya wrote all these verses. It is what is said to be all these verses. But the second verse also, okay, is not over. It is also what is being talked about by the Chandala only. He is explaining it further. Of course, I should have told you that the second verse also, which we are going to see, is what Chandala explains to him. And when this verse, this is heard by Adi Shankaracharya, ultimately he realized what he did not earlier and fell at the feet of this particular Chandala. And the third verse onwards, whatever we see, is a set of five verses. The third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Though there are seven verses, the first two verses are the introduction and what the Chandala is telling. So let us go to the second verse where the Chandala is questioning deeper, literally as to shake Shankaracharya and say, he just doesn't stop at saying, are you asking the body, this body to go away from that body? Or are you asking this consciousness to go away? What is it that you are asking? And then he explains his stand in the next verse, in the second verse. किं गङ्गाम्बुनिबिम्बितेऽम्बरमणौ चाण्डालवाटीपयः पूरे चान्तरमस्ति काञ्चनघटी मृत्कुम्भयोर्वाम्बरे प्रत्यग्वस्तुनि निस्तरङ्गसहजा नन्दावबोधाम्बुधौ विप्रोऽयं श्वपचोऽयमित्यपि महान् कोऽयं विभेदभ्रमः. Last two words, koyam vibheda brahma. What is this bheda brahma that you are having? Hey, Dvijavara, what kind of a brahma? You are under such a delusion. Koyam vibheda brahma. What kind of a delusion of division is this that you are talking about? And then the Chandala gives him the examples. He says, Kim Gangambuni bimbite ambaramanau Chandalavati payaha pure. He says, Ambaramanau means the gem in the sky, another name for sun. Ambaramanau, Mani, Ambaramani, the gem in the sky. Now this Ambaramani, whether it shines, whether it falls on Kim Gangambuni, if this particular sunlight, sun, Ambaramani, whether it gets reflected in the pure waters of Ganga or Chandalavati Payaha Pure, or whether it gets reflected in the dirty waters of the slum. Chandalavati means slum. Payapure means in the puddle of dirty water of a Chandalavati, of a slum. Now, tell me, O Dvijavara, if sun gets reflected in the slum waters or in the pure waters of Ganga, is there a difference that is caused to the sun? Is the sunlight afflicted by the purity of the river of Ganga? Is the sunlight affected adversely by the dirtiness of the pools of water in the slum? Is there any difference in that? Is there? Is it this thing? Sun shines equally on all pools of water everywhere. Is the sun selective? No, it gets reflected in every body of water. Whatever may be the body of water, the reflection may look murky, but does the reflection affect the sun in any way? Does the reflecting medium affect the sun in any way? If that is so, then it is the same consciousness which is there in all the upadhis. Then, should that consciousness get affected by the dharmas of the upadhi? One body may be a Chandala body, another body may be a Dvijavara's body. But then, like sun, can it get affected by the dirtiness of the Chandala's upadhi or the cleanliness and purity of the Dvijavara's body or upadhi? Is it possible? One example. Second example he gives is that cha antaram asti kanchana ghati mrit kumbhayoho va ambare. See, actually the verses are quite simple. Only thing is chanting it may be causing a little bit of this one. But if you do the proper way of reading it, then it should not be a difficult thing. So, second example, cha, another example he's given. He says, space ambaraha. Ambara means space. ambare, that is for this ambara, in space, which is available in a golden pot, Kanchana Ghati, that space which is available in the Kanchana Ghati, and that space which is available in a Mrit Kumbha, in a mud pot, is there any difference? Antaramasti? Is there? Is there any antaram? No. Both are pot spaces. The upadhi is different, but the upadhi is not going to affect the space. If the space is not going to be affected by where it is, if the sunlight is not going to be affected by where it has formed a reflection, what about this Atma? After giving these two examples, he says, Pratyagvastuni nistaranga sahajanandavabodhambudho. Third line. If this is true for the sun, if this is true for space, what to talk about Pratyagvastu? That consciousness which is nearest to me, closest to me, Pratyagvastuni, in this consciousness, Pratyagvastuni, which is available to me to the closest, which is nearest and closest, Pratyag, available to me. Nistaranga Sahaja Ananda Avabodhambudo. What is the nature of this Pratyag Vastu or Pratyag Atma? Nistaranga, changeless, absolutely no change. Sahaja, natural, Ananda Avabodhambudho. It is by nature absolutely changeless, no disturbances. At the same time, it is Ananda Swarupa and it is Bodha Swarupa. Ananda Swarupa, Bodha Swarupa Rupi Nistaranga Atmani, Pratyagatmani, in this Atma, is there any difference? Viproyam Shvapachoyam Ityapi. Whether it is this consciousness which is lighting up the body of a Vipra. Vipra means what? See, we have three things now. Dvija and Vipra. The first one is just a Prakrita Purusha, the first birth, supposed to be. Dvija, when a person after Yagnopavita Samskara gets the Adhikaritvam for Vaidika Karmas, and such a person, when he studies the Vedas and understands the Vedas, he is called as a Vipra. Vipra. So he says now, Viproyam Shvapachoyam Ityapi. Whether it is a Vipra's body or whether it is the body of a Chandala, Shvapacha means a Chandala's body, Ityapi, Mahan. This Vipra's body, Mahan, it may be. The body may be, by standards, it may be. Vipra may be an exalted Jiva, doesn't matter. But then, is there any kind of a Bheda in consciousness? Koyam Vibheda Brahmaha. What is this delusion or Brahma that you are having about this consciousness? These two, that is starting from Annamayad Annamayam Athava Chaitanya Chaitanyam, to here, the last two lines of the first verse and the four lines of the second verse are the questions asked by the Chandala or the slum dweller. So, what he is wanting to say is this consciousness, giving the example of space and light, which we have already seen in all the previous works that we have studied. Like light and space, being in and through the entire material world does not get afflicted. There is no lepa from the gunas or the attributes of the objects of the world, including the body, mind, sense complex. Therefore, hey Vidvija, how do you see this difference? Where are you seeing the difference? Are you seeing the difference in the bodies? Are you seeing the difference in the consciousness? When there is one consciousness which is enlivening all the bodies, not getting affected by the Deha Dharmas, like sunlight and like space, then what are you talking about? This question makes Acharya Shankara, as I told just some time back, prostrate at the feet of the Chandala. He understands that this is not an ordinary person, but it is Bhagwan Shiva who has come to enlighten him and remind him of this particular knowledge. And third verse onwards, he starts writing something about this. What is this Atma that this person has talked about? What is this Atma? What is the nature of this Atma? What is the Swarupam of this Atma? That is what he's going to talk about in the next 5 verses. So we'll see the third verse, which is nothing but the first verse of Manisha Panchakam. And here he says what that consciousness is. We have already discussed these things in all the previous texts that we have studied. So let's see this. Jagrat Swapna Sushuptishu Sputatara Ya Samvid Vijrumbhate Ya Brahmadi Pipili Tanushu Prota Jagat Sakshini सैवाहं न च दृश्यवस्त्विति दृढ प्रज्ञापि यस्यास्ति चेत् चाण्डालोऽस्तु स तु द्विजोऽस्तु गुरुरित्येषा मनीषा मम. So the last line is actually the same except for the last verse. Chandalostu satu dvijostu. Let a person be a Chandala or a Dvija, whatever may be his external experience. A person who has this knowledge about Atma Swarupam is my Guru, is equivalent to a Guru. Guru ityesha manisha mama. It is my strong conviction, it is my strong knowledge that whoever has the knowledge of Atma, as it is explained in the Upanishads, be it a Chandala, be it a Brahmana, be it anybody for that matter, such a person is nothing but a Guru who is capable of being a Guru. We have stories of so many saints, of a similar thing. In Marathi literature, we have Soka and other people who have been, who have been talked about as to though they belong to literally the slum dwellers, they were full of this knowledge. This we see in all, the Santa Parampara, we see that most of them, many of them were like this Chandala. And therefore, it does not matter whether I have taken the birth as a Chandala, as a slum dweller, or as an exalted Jiva, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, what matters is that do I have this knowledge of this Atma? And what is this Atma now? This is what he knows. The Chandala knows. And now, here Shankaracharya is talking about what this Atma Swarupa is. And he's explaining here, this is taken from a Mahavakya called as Prajnanam Brahma. From a Mahavakya called as Prajnanam Brahma, which comes in Aitareya Upanishad. And he talks about giving a kind of a small explanation, a very, very capsular form. He gives the meaning of this Mahavakya, Prajnanam Brahma. Prajnanam Brahma, Prajnanam means what? Chaitanyam, consciousness. This consciousness, Aham, Prajnanam, Brahma Asmi. It is same as Aham Brahmasmi. So what does he say? Jagrit Swapna Sushuptishu Sputatara Ya Samvid Vijrumbate. Samvid means consciousness. Samvid means the Chaitanyam. This Samvid, this consciousness, Sputatara, very clearly is available in all the three avasthas of a jiva. In the Jagrit avastha also, the same consciousness is available as the very Atma or the consciousness behind the Jagrat jiva. In the Swapnavastha, it is the same consciousness which enlivens the Swapna Prapancha and the Swapna Jiva. In the Sushupti Avastha, it is the same consciousness which lights up the Sushupta Jiva, and the absence of everything and the ignorance of deep sleep. So, who am I? What is this? It is the Samvit Vijrumbate, which shines pristinely by itself in all the three avasthas. In Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti avasthas, it is one consciousness that shines through the three upadhis, the Jagrat Jiva, the Swapna Jiva, and the Sushupta Jiva. The upadhis may change, but the consciousness or the Chaitanyam is the same Samvit Chaitanyam, which is the one which is enlivening all the three avasthas. Avasthatraya Sakshi Rupena. We have seen that. स्थूल सूक्ष्म कारण व्यतिरिक्तम पंचकोश विलक्षणम अवस्थात्रय साक्षी. So that which is the Sakshi Chaitanyam of all three states of the Jiva. Jagrit Swapna Sushuptishu Sputatara Ya Samvid Vijrumbate. Ya, that same Samvid. Brahmadi Pipili Kanta Tanushu Prota Jagat Sakshini. It is that same consciousness which is the Chaitanyam from Chaturmukha Brahma's body up till the body of a small insect like ant. Pipilika is ant. Ya Brahmadi Pipilikanta Tanushu. Tanu means body. That Chaitanyam which is behind every body, every jiva, starting from Chaturmukha Brahma, the most exalted of the beings, to an ant's body, Prota. That is that consciousness which is Protam, Sutre Manigana Iva. We have seen that in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Like a sutra which is there, going through all the beads. It is the same Samvit, the consciousness, which is like a thread or a sutra, which is passing through, which is in and through all the bodies of all the jivas, from Brahma's body to a body of an ant also. Pipili Kanta Tanusho Prota. It is inherent everywhere. And that consciousness is Jagat Sakshini. It is that consciousness through different body, mind, sense complexes witnesses the whole universe. Jagat Sakshini. Saiva aham nacha drishya vastu iti. I am that consciousness and not the drishya prapancha, not the drishya body, mind, sense complex iti. Dhrida prajna api yasya asti chet. Yasya asti chet. This dhrida prajna, this dhrida knowledge, the one who has, whoever has it, chandalostu va dvijostu. Whether he is a Chandala, Satudvijostu, he is fit to be a Guru. He is fit to be a Vedanta Guru. I prostrate to him as my Guru. So, what is this consciousness? Who am I? I am not the body mind sense complex. I am not the Drishya Vastu. I am not the Jagat. I am not that which I am able to see and experience. I am not the Drishyam. I am the Drik Swarupa Chaitanya Atma. And what is this Chaitanya Atma? That which is the Sakshi Chaitanyam of Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti Avastha in all jivas. And it is that consciousness which is in and through all the bodies or upadhis of every jiva. Brahmadi Pipili Kanta Tarishu Prota, which is completely inherent in every upadhi, that which is the sakshi of the entire jagat, the one who knows this to be the nature of himself or herself, such a person is a jnani, a person who is a mukta purusha and capable of being a guru. And this Chandala, knowing this, I do namaskara to him as my Guru. Guru Rityesha Manisha Mama. This is my strong conviction. Then next he goes to the same thing, explaining what this consciousness is, which we have already seen in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We have seen Vivek Chudamani, we have seen in Kathopanishad also. Now let's go to the second verse. In the second verse, he says that ब्रह्मैवाहमिदं जगच्च सकलं चिन्मात्रविस्तारितं सर्वं चैतदविद्यया त्रिगुणया अशेषं मायाकल्पितम् इत्थं यस्य दृढा मतिः सुखतरे नित्ये परे निर्मले चाण्डालोऽस्तु स तु द्विजोऽस्तु गुरुरित्येषा मनीषा मम. The last line is the same. The one who has this knowledge, the clarity of perception of what I am that Atma Swarupa, and every verse gives different Swarupas of Atma, and knows clearly that I am different, I am not the Anatma body mind sense complex. I am not the Drishya Jagat. Aham Satyam Jagan Mithya iti, the person who knows this, he is my Guru. Let him be a Chandala or a Dvija, it doesn't matter. So, what is the next one? That the Vedantic teaching that this person or Jnani who knows this, what is it that he knows? Brahmaivaham idam, Brahmaiva aham idam jagatcha sakalam chinmatra vistaritam. Brahmaiva aham, Brahmaiva aham. I, this consciousness, is nothing but that Brahman, which is the adhishtanam of the entire Jagat. Brahmaiva aham, idam jagatcha sakalam, chinmatra vistaritam. See, it is, as I'm reading it, you will be able to understand what is being said because we have already studied these things. Brahmaiva aham, aham brahmasmi, again a Mahavakya. Aham brahmasmi. Then what is this Jagat? Idam Jagat cha sakalam. This entire Jagat that I am seeing, chinmatra vistaritam. It is a mere manifestation or a projection on this Atma. This Atma, this consciousness is manifesting as this entire Jagat. Chinmatra vistaritam. Sarvam chayetat avidyaya trigunaya maya kalpitam ashesham. This entire universe of names and forms, until my Karana Shariram or Prakriti, my body, mind, sense complex, everything, Ashesham, without leaving anything behind, is Avidyaya Trigunaya Maya Kalpitam. It is this Prakriti, Trigunatmika Prakriti, with its three gunas of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. This whole universe of matter principle is nothing but a projection by Maya onto this Adhishtanam Brahma, like projection of a movie on the screen. And therefore, this entire Jagat is Kalpitam. It is a mere projection. It is not real. The world is not real. The Jagat, Ashesha Jagat, means everything in this Jagat, all the names and forms, including my own body, mind, sense complex, Ashesham, Maya Kalpitam. We'll see it when we take Dakshinamurti Stotram also. Maya Kalpita Desha Kala Kalana Vaichitrya Chitri Kritam, he says, Adi Shankaracharya. The same concept is here. It is repeated. It is the same thing. And what more can Vedanta say? What is Jagat? What am I? That is what it has to say. Who am I? I am Brahman. Aham Satyam. Brahma Satyam. What is Jagat? It is a pure projection of matter principle by Maya, and therefore it is purely Kalpita Jagat. and therefore it is mithya. Mithya means what? It is an experiential reality. It is not the absolute reality. Not that the Jagat is not there, it is experientially there, but absolute reality is not there for this Jagat. Itham yasya dhrida matihi. In this way, itham yasya, for whom, dhrida matihi, this abidance, where matihi, abidance of the intellect or absolute nishtha in what? Sukhatare nitye pare nirmale atmani. The one who sees this entire jagat, including the body mind sense complex, as a mere projection by Maya, but abides, who has nishtha, a firm conviction and abidance in this swarupam, my own swarupam, which is of what nature? Sukhatare, which is of the nature of Ananda, Nitye, Nitye Atmani, that immortal self that I am, Pare, Pare means again infinite, immortal Atmani, Nirmale, ever pure, not getting afflicted by what this consciousness enlivens, like sunlight, like space. So, a person who has this conviction, who clearly sees that the whole Jagat Ashesham Jagat Sakalam Chinmatra Vistaritam, it is something projected upon me, this Atma, and this avidya or this maya or prakriti is projecting the entire universe. The whole universe is nothing but this projection and nothing else. The person who sees this projected world, I am not, I am this Nitya Para Nirmala Sukhatara Ananda Swarupa Atma. So the one who has nishtha in Sukhatare Nitye Pare Nirmale Yasya Matihi Dhrida Asti, the one who is abiding in this Sukhatare Nitye Nirmale Atmani, the one who has got nishtha, nishtha Yasya Asti, such a person, be it a Chandala or be it a Dvija, be it a Vipra, be anybody, such a person is the one who knows the truth about what is the reality, the truth about the Tattvam, and such a person is fit enough to be my Guru. Ityesha Manisha Mama. This is my firm conviction. This is what I have heard, this is what I have learned from this Chandala. And whatever Shankaracharya knows, whatever he has taught his Shishyas, he is expressing it in the form of the Vedic teaching. The teaching of the entire Vedanta is being given in these 5 verses, where Aham Brahmasmi, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mitya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha is in a crystallized way given in 5 gems of verses. So, with this, we'll stop, and in the next session, we will see the third, fourth, and fifth verses of Manisha Panchakam. It may look a little complicated because of the structuring of the words and the sentences, but the concepts are already what we have seen or learned before. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः